We are going to be learning about Python dictionaries. And first, we are going to start with a little overview of what a Python dictionary is. And then we will get into how to create the dictionaries, how to modify entries, how to remove entries, and kind of the nitty gritty details of dealing with them. Uh, for an overview, basically what a dictionary data type is it's data that is stored in key value pairs. So the value is the data that you're storing, and the key is what you use to access the data. So it's a bit like an associative array. So if you have coded in a language like PHP or anything similar that deals with associative arrays, Python dictionaries are a lot like that. The key value has to be unique because that is how you're accessing the data. The data, of course, doesn't have to be unique, just the key. And because we are using a key to access data, the dictionaries are not considered to be ordered. They are not in a sequential order. Python does not limit the number of key value pairs within a dictionary. So that's kind of a brief overview. And now we're going to get into how do you create one? So there's two different ways you can code a dictionary. You can go horizontal with the name value pairs, or you can go vertical. And the method that you choose is mainly personal preference. However, if you are going to have a large dictionary, so you're going to have a lot of name value pairs, then it is better to go vertical. So to create a dictionary, you have your dictionary name and you set that equal to curly braces. And within the curly braces, you have your key, which is typically text that you put in quotes, a colon, and then you have the value. So if the value is text, that will be in quotes. If it's a number, you just key the number in. And so you can see I have an employee dictionary and I've got a number key set to 100, a name key, Fred Flintstone, a title set to boss, and a salary. Okay, and they are all set up going across in a row. And you will notice between each name value pair, I do have a comma. In Python, if you print the dictionary name, it will display the curly braces and the name value pair pretty much the way that you entered them. The primary difference is that instead of displaying double quotes around the keys and the strings, it does single quotes. The vertical method is basically the same thing, but after each key value pair, you have a comma and you press enter. Okay, and the key value pairs are indented. And as I said, if you have a lot of key value pairs, this way is much better because it's easier to read. And it's also easier to add to. You'll notice that the very last key value pair has a comma after it. And that is a standard practice. Some languages would give you an error for doing that, but Python does not because it assumes you're going to add another key value pair. So setting up for the next one by inserting a comma is perfectly okay and encouraged in Python. So here's our same example using the vertical method. So in addition to creating a dictionary that has key value pairs, you could choose to create an empty dictionary. And to do that, you just do the curly braces with nothing inside. And at that point, later on, you can add key value pairs to the dictionary. To access a value that is in a dictionary, you just use the dictionary name, and then you have brackets, and in the brackets, you have double quotes and the key. So all of the values are accessed through the keys. It is pretty flexible because you can access the value with the key, as shown here, employee, and then we've got the subscript with title. And you can call lowercase, you could call title, you could call any of those text methods and adjust how the text looks. To add to a dictionary, it is the dictionary name. You've got brackets and a new key. You set that at equal to the new value, and you have just added to the dictionary. So it is super easy to add to a dictionary. And I have several examples. Here's one adding to employee. And then we've got another one where we start with an empty ingredients dictionary, and then we add to that. And these are the ingredients for Rice Krispie bars. And again, to modify values in a dictionary, you just subscript in with the key and set it equal to the new value. This little example is from the book. And so we have an alien dictionary with basically the X and Y position on your screen and a speed set to medium. And then we print that out. And then we figure out how far to move our alien based on the speed. So we basically check the speed and adjust something called an X increment. And then you'll notice that we take the X position and add in the X increment, and that is moving our alien. So I think at this point, I'll key in a couple of these or copy and paste some code into my handy little practice program here. We'll do the Rice Krispie bars. So here we've got Rice Krispie bars. And actually, this probably would have been better vertical. Not a big deal. I will convert it. And let's run it. Okay, so you can see that it did print it out. So even though I set it up vertical, it has printed horizontal. And now I'm going to change how many Rice Krispies are in there so I can get gooier treats. Let's see. And so you can see that the minute I changed, it's changing this entry. So instead of being really long, I've switched it to just 5.5 cups. Now to remove a key value pair. You use the delete command, and you're basically deleting the key value pair by subscripting in with the key. So if I say delete employee performance review, it's going to delete that key value pair. So I can also take this, copy it, paste it, and run it as is. And you can see that the performance review is not in the second printout. But if I wanted to change something else, okay, let's say I wanted to get rid of the boss title. I could switch it here to title and run that one instead. And so now I've got everything except you can see that title was deleted. Now you may be thinking, well, the subscripting in using a key is great because it's easy to remember keys. It's harder to subscript in remembering numbers. So subscripting in with keys is awesome, but what happens if the key doesn't exist? You can actually use the get method to access the dictionary with the key. And if for some reason that key doesn't exist, you can temporarily assign a value to the key instead of getting an error. So that's actually a pretty awesome feature. So the way you have to use the method is you use the dictionary name, which is your object, dot get, and then in parentheses, you're going to give it the key, a comma, and then you are going to give it a value to use if the key is not there. So if it finds the key, fine, it'll retrieve it. If it doesn't, it's going to use whatever value you set. Okay, so I have a little example here. I have puppy, and we have two key value pairs, color is white, eyes are black. I am using puppy.get to retrieve the breed. Well, that's not in my dictionary. Okay, so if it's not there, it's going to set the breed to Maltese. Okay, and then I am using get to retrieve the color. Well, the color is there, so it is going to use the color that's there. If for some reason the color wasn't there, it would use unknown. So let's run this. Okay, so it starts by printing what's in my dictionary. Okay, then it retrieves the breed and the color. It prints the breed and the color. And then it prints the dictionary again. So when it retrieves the breed and it assigns it Maltese, it's not adding that to the dictionary. Okay, basically, it's just assigning Maltese so that my program can still run. Okay, so it's not the same as adding it to the dictionary. It's just a way of retrieving a key value pair and allowing the program to continue if for some reason the key is missing. Okay, we're going to see a separate video for the hands-on. So we're just going to kind of bypass that, and we're moving on to looping through dictionaries. So if you want to access all the values in a dictionary, you can loop through the dictionary using a for loop. The syntax that you use is going to vary depending on what it is that you want to return. If you want to return the key, then you can say for item or whatever you want to call it. Quite often people say key in dictionary name, and then you're going to have your statements that you want executed. Okay, so here's our little puppy dictionary. For item in puppy, print item, and it prints out the key values. Now, what if I want to access the value? Well, using this technique, if we know that item is our key, we can actually use that to subscript in to the dictionary, right? So let's copy this. Actually, we'll do the whole thing here. So here, item is our key. We're using the key to subscript in, and it's retrieving the values. Now, if we want our keys, all we have to do is for item in puppy, print item. And then you can see we get our keys. And then below that, we've got the values. What if you want both printed out? Well, you can do both. We could say item equals and then we can have the value printed. Okay, so this prints out both. Now you might be thinking, is there an easier way to do this? Well, there are a couple different variations that you may find easier. One of them is to use the values method. So this would be in your for loop. We would have for item in puppy dot values, because the dictionary is the object in this case. Now, if we do this and we tell it to print item, what it's going to do is print the item instead of the key. Okay, and you can see that it did that. Okay, so dot values is going to give us the item. Now you may be thinking, well, if there's a dot values, is there a dot keys? Yes, there is. So if you use dot keys and you print item, it gives you the key. So using dot keys gives you the exact same result as using nothing. Now you may be thinking, is there a way to get both the key and the value? Yes, you can use the items method. So if we do dot items at the end, because we're retrieving the key and the value, we have to include two things at the beginning. So after the keyword for, we are going to say key, comma, value. Now we could just say item 1, comma, item 2, right? It doesn't matter what you call them, it matters that you have 2. Okay, and then when we print, we're going to want to print the key and the value, right? So you might want that formatted a little bit. So you might want to do key equals or colon, however you want to put it, value. And it's referring to this key and value variable that you've set up in your for loop. And as I said, it does not matter what you call these things. I don't want you to think that you have to call it item or that you have to call it key. You can call it X and Y, although that's not very descriptive. Whoops. Let me run that again. There we go. Okay, would I use X and Y? No, I'd probably use key and value just because it's more descriptive of what you're doing. Now, if you would like your dictionary to be sorted, you can use the sorted function. And you can sort by keys, you can sort by values. It just depends on what you want sorted. So this is a function. It is not a method. So the dictionary name has to go in parentheses. So the first one here is sorting the dictionary by the keys, and then we're retrieving the key, which I'm calling K. And the second one is going to sort by value. Whoops. And then we are retrieving the value and printing it. And the example that I have in the notes might make a bit more sense just because it is an actual dictionary, a dictionary of dictionary items. Okay, so this is sorting by value, and then we are taking the value and using the title method on it. So you can see that it's capitalized everything. Now, do you have to use values or keys with sorted? No. You can just choose to pass it the dictionary name. But if you do that, then what's going to be retrieved is the key. So if you wanted the value printed out, remember that you have to subscript in to the dictionary with the key. Now, Python also allows dictionaries inside lists, or lists inside dictionaries. You can also have a dictionary inside a dictionary. And you could do this for a couple different levels down. So you can see that that would get kind of confusing, especially when you're first learning. So we're going to try to keep it as simple as possible. A dictionary that is inside a list. So how does this work? You have multiple dictionaries, and then you put the dictionary name in the list. So here I've got 3 different dictionaries of aliens, and each of those dictionaries is in an aliens list. So that's fairly straightforward. Here's probably a better example where we have an empty alien list. In fact, I'm going to run this one. So here we've got an empty alien list, and we've got a little for loop. And you can see we've got something called alien number, and we are going to run this through 30 times. So we're using range 30. And we are randomizing the points that you get for these aliens. And so we've got something called new alien, which is a dictionary item. Okay, and it's green. We're assigning random points, and they're all going to be slow. They're all going to be green and slow with a different number of points. And then we are appending the new alien to our aliens list. So when we're done with this, we are going to end up with 30 of these alien dictionary items in our alien list. And then we choose to just print 10 of those out. And you can see they're all green, they're all slow, but they have a different number of points, which probably is not super realistic. This next example might be a little bit more, but how realistic are aliens anyway? But we won't get into that. But in this, we've got a list of colors, we have a list of speeds, and we have an empty alien list. And so what we're doing in our for loop then is we're still getting a random number of points, but we're also going to be getting a random color and a random speed. So we are getting a subscript for the color, number between 0 and 5. We're subscripting into our color list. And so each time we come through here, it's going to grab a different color. And then we're doing the same thing for speed. So we are randomly accessing or retrieving a 0, 1, or a 2. And we're storing that, and then we're using the value in our speed list, and we're randomly retrieving a speed. And then we're taking that random new color, the random points, and that random speed, and now we're creating an alien. And so now we truly are going to have more random aliens. They're not going to be all green and slow. Okay, so you can see we've got different colors, we got different speeds, and we have different points. Okay, so that was dictionaries inside a list. It's just the dictionary names separated by commas. All right, so now we're going to take a look at a list inside a dictionary. So you have name value pairs. The value can be whatever you want it to be. So if you want the value to be a list, It can be a list. So you'll notice that we have pizza, we have a key of crust and a value of thick, and then we have a key of toppings, and then the toppings are in a list. That's perfectly fine. Okay, not a problem. And then you can see how we kind of manipulated the printout. Because the value can be whatever you want, the value can also be a dictionary. So here we have a dictionary name. We have our first key, and the value is another dictionary. We have our second key, and the value is a dictionary. And so here's an example from the book where we've basically got the student's first initial and their last name, and that's the key. And then we've got the dictionary for each of the students. And this is all inside a user dictionary. Here's another example. You can see that maybe I want a puppy. So I've got a puppy dictionary, and then I've got my keys. And then within each one, the value that's stored is another dictionary. Okay, and this is how I'm accessing everything to print. And we can run this if you want, because puppies are fun. So I'm using items, and I have pup and info, key and value, okay? So when I say print puppy, info is referring to this, okay? And so I'm subscripting in with breed, and then I'm subscripting in with age, sex, and price. Okay, so info is basically my second or sub dictionary. Okay, it's a key for the outer dictionary, but for the nested dictionary, it is the name of the dictionary, and I have to subscript in. So it's kind of a weird thing, but that is how you access those items. Okay, so you'll notice that we really don't do much with the outer one, except for we refer to it here. Okay, so what we're really interested in is subscripting in here. And how do we subscript into that? We have to use the keys. So this is normally would be our value, but the value is a dictionary item. So we have to subscript in. So hopefully that makes sense to y'all. And that is the last thing that we need to talk about with dictionaries. You will be using them a lot over the upcoming weeks.